How's it going, everyone? It's been a hot minute since we did one of these solo episodes, and I'm just going to focus on a little bit of philosophy, personal discipline. There's definitely more room to explore things here, and to be honest with you, as much as we do get to kind of cover a broad range of topics on the guest episodes, there are usually a lot of things that kind of get left out of those purely because obviously I have to find common grounds with the guests that I have on the show. Okay, which is it's not necessarily a difficult thing to do because I wouldn't be speaking to them in the first place if they weren't interesting people and if we didn't have those common grounds. Having said that, I feel like for you guys, it's easier for me to just kind of share with you directly a lot of my thoughts. Yeah, I get to just fucking say it like it is, man. So hope you guys are in for that. And first and foremost, thank you for being here. It's really a pleasure to have you all on board. And yeah, let's just dig straight into it. So, the idea I had for this episode, I just wanted to talk a little bit about personal freedom, rebellion, or at least the idea of rebellion, what it kind of means to me, and what that has evolved into over time, because that's a very important distinction to make. And above all, just the idea of taking radical ownership of one's own will and one's own life. Okay. Things that, in the context of metal, we kind of sing about a lot. And it's all about the lyrics and the culture, but it just feels like we don't really actually practice it as much as we should. Okay, so again, I am saying all of this with full awareness that 80 to 90% of the people who watch this channel are metalheads, in fact, okay? If you are not, that is perfectly fine. Perhaps there's still something here that you can relate to as a general human thing, okay? Because you still have to be human to connect to these things, okay? Metalheads, for better or worse, are still humans, okay? So we have that in common. Now, one thing that I've noticed quite a lot is that in this genre, we'll sing about death, we'll sing about destruction, we'll sing about rebellion, all these things, which are certainly interesting. I think that the topics themselves absolutely set us apart from anything else that's out there in the world, quite frankly. And I think that we have much more in common with perhaps an older way of consuming art and philosophy than we do with anything contemporary, and especially like anything contemporary, like watching some stupid shit like Love Island or something like that, okay? I would like to think that in metal, we're kind of as further away from that kind of thing as much as possible. You would hope anyway. And the issue that I kind of have noticed quite a lot recently is that we'll talk about death and all these things, but then we'll, in practice, behave in such a way as if we have all of the time in the world. And I kind of think that's a little bit hypocritical of us. Or at least I think that as a culture, we can just fucking do better. So, what do I mean by that is that, yes, we'll sing about these things, as if we do have a deeper understanding of the world and life. And I would like to think that metal is a phenomenal vessel for that, by the way. I do think that people who generally get into this style of music have a deeper understanding of life. They have somewhat higher level of intuitiveness and sensitivity to the reality of the universe. They think a little bit more about the bigger picture. This is, by the way, not even necessarily a reflection of the music, but more so a reflection of the people who I have personally met and engaged with. And it's a big reason why this podcast even exists, and I've been able to have it for as long as I have, is because a lot of the people and the artists, particularly, who I've spoken to, do have a deeper philosophy towards world, towards life, towards existence as a whole. The fact that we're even talking about these things, which are essentials in my opinion. But of course, a lot of these are things that are kind of kept out of the mainstream, okay? And then once you start getting into them, then you do find yourself somewhat in the fringes. That is a strong point of this music, and I think it's a part of what kind of brings us all together. But again, my critique is more so about the fact that we'll talk about these things, we'll discuss them, we'll listen to lyrics about it, but we don't actually put it into action. Now, what I mean by that is that when it comes to action, metalheads still very much has a tendency to be just consumers, okay? And I'm not talking about creating art, I'm not talking about hobbies, but I'm talking about discipline, and I'm talking about taking radical ownership of one's own life. And particularly the third part of that is going to come down to physical exercise. This is something that I feel like we've completely lost in touch with. And just to make a clarification here as well, when I'm saying this, I'm not actually saying that, oh, things were better back in the 70s or the 80s or the dangerous time in the 90s. No, no, no. This is actually something that we've never figured out as a culture. And I would like to see more of it. Because to me, being a metalhead, listening to this music is all about the individuation of the microcosm. It is all about personal strength, personal liberty, and rebellion. Now, onto that topic of rebellion, also, which I said I wanted to discuss a little bit in detail. To me, the idea of rebellion, when I was a teenager or even as a young adult, was such that you do whatever you want, regardless of consequences. That's basically in practice what it came down to. Now, you could then put that in the context of spirituality and religion, because religion does play a very big part in this. Let's face it, okay? I'm not gonna take away from that. But also, in action, like you can look at it however way you want, but action is ultimately what counts. And in action, what it comes down to is you're basically rebelling for the sake of chaos. And in hindsight, that's a very much pointless thing. It's a perhaps healthy exercise to have at some point in the map of your life, particularly at an adolescent age, but generally speaking, there's not much point to that. And I'll explain why. Okay, so what does that actually look like in practice? Okay, well, that means drinking and doing drugs and having self-destructive behavior and kind of pushing the boundary of order in one's own life. Which, by the way, again, I don't regret the things that I have done in my own life. I've certainly done my fair share of that. But in hindsight, that was not rebelling against the system, but actually it was rebelling against one's own greatness. Because you're taking away from your own strength, you're taking away from your own focus, you're taking away from your own time, your fucking time, the most important thing that you have. And we're throwing it away like it's nothing because we don't know what to do with it. Everything else feels like too much, it's too overwhelming. But what I would love to create a reminder for is to embrace that discomfort. What if you have time? What if you have power? What if you have focus? What would you do with that? Instead of just pissing it away, scrolling on social media, having the exact same habits day in, day out, waiting for something to change down the line, and yet wondering why you're still stuck in the same place. This, by the way, is a much more universal issue, and it's a symptom of modern culture and modern society and the things that we've been fed, the illusions that we've been fed about ourselves as human beings that are currently walking this earth. If you want to sing about these lyrics, if you want to talk about these topics, if you want to go to a festival, let's not make it just about consumerism. This is more than that. We have such a great opportunity, and there is so few of us. There is so few of us. I've said this ad nauseum whenever I've done live podcasts or even online podcasts. And I always say that, look, when you go to a music festival and you look around, there's thousands of people there. And in your head, you're going to get given the illusion that, okay, this is the case all the time, or that metalheads are everywhere. They're all across the world. And technically, yes, they are, but their numbers are extremely small. Okay? Having had the privilege of obviously going to various different festivals and going to different places, even touring and playing many different countries, you come to realize that fucking hell, so much of that is the same people that are everywhere because they're passionate and they're willing to go out for it, okay? And the reason why I bring that up is to remind us that there's not that many of us out there. Okay, we are a minority. All right, there's only so many people out there who will be able to name Necrovore songs. Okay, or be able to reference sadistic execution. Like, look, there's only so many of us out there, and it's important to remember that. And my point is, we can do better as a culture. We can do better as a culture by taking radical fucking ownership of our own lives. And a big part of the reason why I have such a stance on it, A, is my own personal evolution that I've kind of been through. But number two is the fact that without having to lean into this too much, but there was once upon a time when I lived in a certain country where you didn't have access to any of this. Okay? And we had to fight for it. We had to fucking bleed for it just to even listen to this music. I remember when me and my friends literally used to go out and listen to Emperor's first album out of a fucking Walkman in a corner of a park and hide behind the bushes and headbang at the same time. You know, you couldn't even like listen to the music when you were headbanging because of the fucking wind. Just to hide away from the police, just to be able to enjoy that. And I'm not saying that everyone has to be the same. No, but this is just a reminder that this music is so much more than, oh, I went to such and such show, I drank such beer, I bought the merch. By the way, thank you for doing all of that. We need you there. But also, there's just more to it than that. There's a connection here. There's something more to it, you know. So I don't know, go up to people. If you're someone who is shy of talking to strangers, fuck it. Just pretend you're someone else and go talk to them anyway. This is something that I used to struggle with so much. I couldn't even fucking speak to strangers before, okay? And I was always, believe it or not, the quietest person in every group. And I'm not saying that every person watching this is gonna have the same predicament, but so many shows that I go to, I see this. I see the introverts in the crowd. And I see them, I observe them, I see them in a corner keeping to themselves, even though I know they're so fucking passionate about this music. And that's a part of the reason why I'm putting this out there, okay? I think that there's so much more that we can all do. And just to kind of bring this back to one of the most important things that I experienced personally, I have seen friends of mine experience this, and obviously this is actually a part of my job, so I get to see it happen on a day-to-day basis, is physical exercise. Trust me when I say that this will absolutely change your life for the better. If you're someone who's already training and you're consistently staying up, especially with weightlifting, if you're already doing that, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. I don't have to break it down for you. But if you're someone who's never dug into this world, my God, you are missing out on so much potential here. And the reason why I say that, you know, like there's a lot of people who come out and say, oh, do just what works for you. First of all, that's fucking horseshit. Don't listen to anyone who says that. The reason why a lot of people are in the position that they are is because they've been doing what works for them. And what they think works for them clearly doesn't fucking work for them. Okay? So that's number one. Don't take that advice from anyone, especially when it comes to fitness. Number two, honestly, once you start to add discipline to your life, once you start to add this kind of a structure, your confidence will go up. Because confidence, as I've said ad nauseum, is not something that goes up by just reading a bunch of books. It doesn't happen just from watching some YouTube videos. No, it happens based on how you perceive yourself. And if you're not able to keep up your word to yourself, your confidence is going to plummet. And this is going to turn into a vicious cycle. So what you need to do is set some goals, set some priorities, even if it's something as mundane and as simple as I am going to go to the gym 3 times a week. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm still going to go and I'm still going to show up. You do that, the more you continue this path, the more your confidence will start to grow because your subconscious is paying attention to every single little bit of your actions, okay? How you perceive yourself is not down to what you think at the forefront of your mind, but rather your subconscious observation of your own day-to-day actions, including the little stuff. Okay, this is not just like big things or, oh, I'm a this or I'm a that. No, no, no. You're watching and observing every single one of your own actions. And trust me when I tell you, if you haven't already done this, take physical fitness, take weightlifting specifically, do this, add this to your day to day life, and watch what happens over a long period of time. And you don't have to be too harsh, you don't have to be brutal. Just add that little bit of discipline and structure. Watch the magic unfold within just a few months, and you can thank me later. Honestly, it's a life changer. That's all I can say. If you feel like what I've said resonated with you, please let me know in the comments. If some of the details are perhaps a little bit sensitive, you can always just send me a direct message in my inbox as well. Sometimes I get more messages in my inbox than I do in the comment sections, and that is fine, okay? As I said earlier, I'm here for the connection. I want to further strengthen that. And what I've learned, I want to share with you. Okay, so I hope this has been a useful one for you. If you're only just starting out with this journey and you don't have any prior experience with training, I work as an online fitness coach as my day-to-day job. It's basically all that I do. Link is in the description of the video. You can just go on there, apply for one-to-one consultation. I'll get in touch with you. We'll have a quick chat about it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this has been a useful one for you. I tried to keep it short and straight to the point, and I hope you can feel my passion. And a part of the reason for that is because I wasn't always like this. I was not always this way. And there's so much, like, I wish when I was a 20-year-old metalhead that was completely anxious and depressed and completely self-destructive, I wish somebody came and fucking put this video in front of me. So I'm hoping what I'm putting out there today is gonna be of some value to any of you watching. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this. Hope you have a killer fucking day, and I'll speak to you soon.